Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, Kwesi Devines, and the Secretary of Culture, Tourism and Transportation, Nadine Stewart-Phillips, addressed the media.
We are happy to say that Tobago Heritage Festival 2017 is indeed happening, and we encourage all Tobagonians to come out and support your communities and support this festival. $7 million was approved by the Executive Council for the festival under the team Lenhand. Lenhand, of course, is the second of a trilogy of events, and it speaks to the whole idea of volunteerism, which I think is very beneficial to our people in Tobago. And so we look forward again, as I said, to a very successful 2017. We also have the Prime Minister's Best Village competition that is currently on the way. Well, the preliminaries, that is. We have 4 of our queens that will be taking part later this year in the Laren Rivet competition. We also had the food fair. 2 Sundays ago, it was held at Queen's Park, Savannah in Trinidad, and we placed first in the craft category and second in the food category, right? So I really want to say congratulations to these community groups, and we look forward to taking the trophy as we normally would at the Prime Minister's Best Village. Yesterday, of course, we had the budget debate at the Chamber of the Tobago House of Assembly. Unfortunately, I was not afforded the privilege to speak due to a number of circumstances which the leader would speak further on. However, today I want to take this opportunity just to share some of the brief plans for the sector with members of the media and members of Tobago. Now, of course, we know that the whole idea and the whole topic of tourism continues to be on the radar in Tobago. And as we move towards diversification of our Tobago economy, we have come to this, we realize as an administration that stringent measures must be put in place as we seek to revitalize the tourism sector. Now, right at this media briefing, a number of you would remember and recall on 2 occasions I came here speaking about the Tobago Tourism Agency. And of course, when you want to ensure that something is implemented properly and correctly, you have to go through the phases and go through the steps. And so I can say today that the Executive Council approved the Board of Directors for this agency, and they are expected to receive their appointments in the month of July, where they would immediately get to work formulating strategies to be implemented by the division, and also consulting with stakeholders and the people of Tobago to ensure that everyone is a part of the discussion on tourism as a long-term action will be in place for the tourism sector. And let me just reiterate that this agency will be responsible for policy implementation in the sector and will have sole responsibility for designing and implementing suitable marketing strategies, product development, and research. Now, this type of corporate agency is something the stakeholders and the people of Tobago would have been clamoring for a number of years, so we know that it is a welcomed step in Tobago. And we look forward, of course, to a positive turnaround to our tourism sector here in Tobago. The board will be chaired, I know the Secretary of Finance in his budget statement would have hinted as to who the chairman would be, and I would like to say that person is Dr. Sherma Roberts. She is a young Tobagonian, passionate about Tobago and its tourism development, and she is willing and ready to give back to her island as a tourism professional. Moving away from the agency, there will be a focus on research development as decisions made in the sector must be driven by timely and accurate data. All gaps that prohibit the destination from reaching its intended target will be identified, and the best alternative platforms will be used to bridge these gaps. Steps, of course, will be taken to strengthen our research infrastructure by expanding our research unit and engaging more specialized staff to allow for the efficient gathering and astute analysis of data trends and intelligence. In the area of product development, we are going to use our culture as our unique selling point, which of course gives us an advantage, a competitive edge over all other Caribbean islands. We have a unique culture here in Tobago, and we must take advantage of that. So, and our culture, of course, is an important element of our product, and visitors look forward to this experience whenever they come to our island. One of the new attractions that persons can look forward to in the new fiscal is the naming of the Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson grave site as a historical site. This is a great part of our history here in Tobago, Mr. Robinson being the only Tobagoan to be Prime Minister and President, and so we are willing and we want to share this with the rest of the world. We have already started the discussions with his family, and it will be ongoing in the next couple weeks. There is also a Youth in Tourism initiative to be rolled out in secondary schools across the island in the new school year. Now, the main objective of the program is to serve as a catalyst to educate and stimulate students' interest and involvement in the sector, and also to motivate them to consider tourism as a viable option for the future, for future careers and entrepreneurial activities. In the area of marketing, in the new fiscal year, the function of marketing will now be the responsibility of the Tobago Tourism Agency. However, I am imploring us that as citizens, we must be patriotic and we must use every opportunity available to promote our destination in a positive way. Marketing must be done in the context of a comprehensive and holistic plan to re-energize the sector. There would be a focus on destination marketing in our main source markets with a view to strengthen these markets with the assistance of our promotional analysts and our marketing representatives. And on this note, I just want to mention that marketing of Destination Tobago falls under the purview of the Tobago House of Assembly and the Division of Tourism. But I want to encourage hoteliers and property owners that they have to market their properties, because when the visitors come here, we cannot tell them where to stay. So the responsibility of marketing individual properties falls solely with the property owners themselves, and I just wanted to reiterate that. Repositioning and redefining of our brand is of utmost importance and will be looked at in the very short order. Emphasis, as I said again, would be placed on marketing of Destination Tobago, so we must be clear with our brand. The Chief Secretary yesterday spoke about the issue of the sea bridge. I just want to reiterate that we are going to be having some relief soon in Tobago as it relates to the sea bridge. And at this moment, I really want to congratulate and extend my appreciation to Caribbean Airlines, because Caribbean Airlines may not have the perfect solution at this moment, but I think they would have stepped up to the game during that period when we were, of course, experiencing difficulties on the sea bridge, and I just want to congratulate and commend Caribbean Airlines for their service, during that period. As it relates to culture, just switching back to culture a bit, in the new fiscal year, the division will place greater emphasis on the creative and cultural industries as another means of economic diversification. We must recognize the enormous potential of our island and its people, and it is for this reason that the division will accelerate the development of our human resources through the expansion of programs including performing arts training program, carnival arts development, a robust music, film, and video development program. So that's just a snippet of some of the initiatives, some of the things that you can expect coming out of the Division of Tourism, Culture and Transportation, of course. And I really want to emphasize this fact. Tourism belongs to all of us. This is our island of Tobago. And so we must all be willing to make the effort. We must all be willing to participate and to put some sort of solution, recommendation forward so that we can have a vibrant and a positive tourism sector.
The exercise of laying the draft estimates before the Assembly. This is a statutory requirement according to the Tobago House of Assembly Act of 1996, Act 40 of 1996. Actually, Section 41, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. The exact purpose being to ensure that the estimates are approved by the Assembly. Of course, the Assembly being a collection of members in the House. And this has to be done before the end of the third quarter, June 30th to be exact. As part of the presentation, the estimates must go before the Finance Committee. This is according to the standing orders. So for anyone to call for a committee to be formed to go over the estimates, that is actually inaccurate because that is part of the process. So as a matter of fact, no matter who asks for it, the draft estimates has to go before the Finance Committee of the Assembly. The Finance Committee is chaired by the Finance Secretary. And of course, this is according to the standing order, Section 70 of the standing order. So there is a specific way for the draft estimates to be laid before the Assembly. There's a process, and I just want to emphasize that we have continued to follow that process. Some people may wish to call it, or may flippantly call the process a wish list. But as of now, until we have that constitutional reform that we've been clamoring for over 4 years, we have to follow the law. And some persons may prefer to flout the law, but that is how it goes. And what has been done, or what was done by the Finance Secretary last Thursday, when he laid the budget statement, was to outline the vision for the Tobago House of Assembly moving forward, this new dispensation. And he spoke about, and the theme again, unleashing the productive capacity of our people. And we're speaking about Tobagonians here. And the fact that we are going through an almost disgusting period where the sea bridge isn't working the way we want it to work. And that's the reality, we know that. The fact that people are saying that the sea bridge, if the boat doesn't operate Tobago, we will starve, we won't get breakfast. Those things we cannot be comfortable with. And I think as Tobagonians, it's almost a wake-up call. We have to start producing. Every time I go to the groceries now, to any of the mini-marts, I was having a conversation with an entrepreneur in Mason Hall. And I'm looking at us still importing pepper sauce and seasonings from Trinidad. These are things that we should be producing right here in Tobago. And the fact that the boat is not operating should not stop us from having these things on our shelves. And I see it as an opportunity, and I'm happy that there's now the Agriculture Revitalization Team, that we are looking specifically at agro-processing, that Tobagonians now need to see that agriculture, feeding ourselves, food security, it's in our hands. And that's when we only talk about the productive capacity of our people. That's one of the critical points that we need to drive home. And yes, the sea bridge is our lifeline, but it's not an import mechanism. We need to start looking at the sea bridge as an export mechanism as well. So I just wanted to emphasize, well, just to add to the discussion on the need for constitutional reform, one, of course, And we know that that will be tabled. The Chief Secretary did speak about it yesterday, that we expect the autonomy bill to be tabled before Parliament soon, and we know that it's going to take a process. It's constitutional reform, and it requires a certain amount of support by the opposition in this case because of the configuration of the House. But we are steadfast in holding to our statutory obligations to lay the draft estimates. And again, the Finance Secretary would have laid the budget statement since last Thursday. And the entire process yesterday was supposed to be an opportunity for the minority in particular to contribute to the budget statement or contribute to what they see is the vision for Tobago and the draft estimates, if there were any queries with the draft estimates. And the fact that the minority on two occasions, because I think it took a long pause before Council of Faith decided to speak, were refusing to speak and contribute and basing it on the fact that they were there to rebut. I think that is a very shallow interpretation of the role of the minority. And I think that we really need to look critically at the fact that the minority is failing us continuously and is a serious dereliction of duty when they refuse to contribute to something as meaningful as the draft estimates that we have a statutory obligation to lay and present. The Chief Secretary now has to present this to Cabinet before the end of the third quarter. So I don't want anyone to be led astray into believing that the leader of Assembly Business told people not to speak and these kinds of crazy notions, because I don't know that I have an iron fist. I have, I think, some pretty nice hands. I'm soft in some places. And the reality is that the budget statement was laid since last Thursday. We were supposed to have the budget statement laid last Tuesday and then the debate on Thursday, with the statement being laid on Thursday and then we debated on Tuesday. The minority actually had more time to peruse the document and make meaningful contributions to the entire process and how we drive Tobago forward. All we basically heard was a lot of what Vanessa James would have presented, because we know that Dr. Vanessa James, with all due respect, would have done a lot of preparation for the minority. And it's only when the minority leader started reading from the script prepared by Dr. James that we heard any sort of substance at all coming in terms of what can be any contribution towards the budget statement, the vision. So I think that the minority has shown that they're, one, bereft of any real ideas. They're totally incapable of functioning as a minority. As a matter of fact, I don't know that they have a clue what their role is supposed to be. And I think that we have to be Tobagonians need to be very careful that they hold the minority, they have a responsibility. And that responsibility is not to grand charge up and down the place. And speaking of grand charging, there's a major issue with the quarry. The inaccuracy of saying that the quarry will be privatized. We have said it time and time again. Yet the minority leader, who has no local stand-by in the quarry whatsoever, other than the fact that his brother works there, goes up and incites the workers, making them believe that it's an attempt to privatize the quarry when there is nothing that is further from the truth. And it's, as I said, misanthropic, because it's almost like there's a hate towards our people and a hate towards productivity. Because the people who were there marching or protesting on Friday, yes, they have the right to leave work or to casual leave, but think of the lost productivity on the day. Think about that. And the fact that daily I am always plagued with calls of sabotage at the quarry, of workers not working efficiently at the quarry, of people conspiring to remove material illegally from the quarry. And these are issues that we are dealing with daily. And now we have another solution, because we would have tried as the Assembly, as the Chief Secretary would have said prior to 2001, there were plans to privatize the quarry. There were plans indeed to privatize the quarry, and those plans were completely shelved. We do not want a situation where a major resource such as the quarry is in private hands, not in Tobago. And we would have invested over $100 million to bring new equipment, plant and equipment into the quarry. We would have tried that approach to do it through the Division of Infrastructure. It did not work. We are still back here today. So let us try something different. We have now established the Studley Park Enterprises Limited. That has been established, and there's a board already in place. Interviews for some of the senior technical positions have already been completed. So we are looking at a situation where there's a commercial entity of the Tobago House of Assembly that will manage the affairs under the direction of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment. So the workers who are currently in the quarry will not be retrenched. They will be redeployed, and not only redeployed, but they will be redeployed, as the Chief Secretary would have said. We actually went to the workers along with the union to speak to them. And I would have met with them even before to assure them that no one will be sent home. I met with them before, and then I met with them again with the Chief Secretary and the members of NUGFW of NUJ. And we assure them yet again that no one will be retrenched. And as a matter of fact, we are willing to even consider a redeployment incentive. So on top of being redeployed, maintaining your source of income within the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment, an incentive will be provided for some of those people who are moving out of the quarry. Beyond even that, on top of that, the positions that are advertised in the quarry, we have agreed in principle that the workers who are currently there will be considered first when the employment, when the interview process goes on. So that they are getting, I don't know how many bites of the cherry now, I've lost count, because it's not even a second bite of the cherry anymore. Yet we have the minority leader deliberate, knowing all of this, because I said it already, knowing all of these facts, deliberately going, inciting the workers, filling their heads with nonsense in some cases. As I said, giving them basket to tote water, making them believe that the quarry is being privatized when that is not the case. And it's very unfortunate. It is totally counterproductive and against what we are trying to achieve. Currently at the quarry, a load of aggregate can sell for as little as $600. The cost of producing the aggregate is over $900. The quarry, the operations are perpetually, we're running at a loss. And beyond that, when the end user, Tobagoans like yourselves, tries to purchase the same aggregate, you are paying 2 or 3 times the price for the aggregate. So we have to be very honest when it comes to the quarry. And at this point, I don't know that the Assembly is prepared to back down on it. We are going ahead with the Studley Park Enterprise Limited. There are many initiatives that we are trying to achieve through this very enterprise, this commercial enterprise, so that we can boost production. I got a letter from the Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, and they want over 12,000 tons of asphalt by September for the rehabilitation of the tarmac at the Crown Point, at the A&R Robinson International Airport. Now, imagine if we don't get to do that. Then some international, the international flights that we have coming may not want to come. And then you could turn around and you will see again that we are pummeling or we are stymieing the growth of the tourism industry, when in fact, we are trying to, everything works together in tandem. Everything works together. So we have to be very clear when we start saying things as inappropriate as privatization. We are playing on the minds of people who feel like their incomes are being threatened. So I understand and I empathize with the employees at some instances, because if a man's income feels that his income is being threatened, then of course he will think that he should react to that, but that is not the case. As a matter of fact, all of the major projects in Trinidad, the highway extension, the proposed highway extensions, they are waiting for aggregate from Tobago. There was a proposal to import aggregate from Nova Scotia. We were going to spend foreign exchange to import aggregate that we can get from Tobago. As a matter of fact, andesite, which is the material in Tobago, is the second hardest material in the world. So we are, and yes, the minority leader was right, we have a gold mine here in Tobago. But we can't have a gold mine where we're not, the operations are sometimes 6 hours a day. That can't be right. We can't sit back as Tobagonians and feel comfortable with that. It's time that we get the maximum productive capacity out of the quarry. It's time that Tobagonians are able to maximize on the benefits of the quarry. We can supply our needs. We can supply the needs of Trinidad. We can supply the needs of the Eastern Caribbean. And even beyond that, we can start exporting from right here in Tobago. And that is the potential we have. There are plans for a pier at Studley Park as well, but it's not something that you do willy-nilly. The fact that infrastructure and environment are now together. In the past, infrastructure and environment, I think I must commend the Chief Secretary for cleaving infrastructure and environment together, because it's a global trend that many governments, and this all over the world, are usually the ones to impede the most on the environment. So we cannot go now where we have a responsibility for the environment and just put down boulders and say we have a pier and completely destroy the beach at Studley Park. That's not how it works. There has to be a proper process. There has to be an environmental impact assessment. A CEC application must be done, and we have to ensure that there's minimal impact. There's a process, and that's the reality of it. So in terms of the quarry, I hope that there are no further questions or even discussion about privatizing the quarry. And anytime it comes up, I think that the media has a responsibility to shut it down. It is not true. In terms of the other initiatives of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, I just want to give people the assurance that our road network, the efficiency of our road network, developing the road network and improving it is high on our agenda. And this, of course, includes the rehabilitation of the Claude Noel Highway. I am very aware of the irritation, particularly when you're passing on the highway by the Botanical Gardens. People are coming to me almost daily. You don't think you should patch it? No, I don't think we should patch it. The highway needs to be rehabilitated totally, the entire highway. If you're driving all the way down past Magdalena, you're seeing cracks on the side of the highway. The entire highway, the asphalt has done its time. The highway needs to be rehabilitated. It's not a 2 cents project. The last estimate I got from the Rockley Vale traffic light down to Pentecostal Light and Life was $12 million. It's not a 2 cents project, because at the same time we have to balance the road resurfacing program of everyone. Every Tuesday, I open my doors to the public, and everyone that comes in, out of every 6 people, 3 of them want their road to be resurfaced or surfaced. So when we spend $12 million to rehabilitate the highway, we don't have a bottomless pit of funds. The reality there is opportunity cost. We rehabilitate the highway. We can't pave as many of the other roads as we would want to pave. And that's the reality of it. But that is a high priority. Opening up agricultural lands is a high priority, so we have to do those roads to give us agricultural access. Of course, we want to open up lands for Tobagonians to even be able to construct their own homes as well. But production in particular is very key to us. We want people to start to have access to lands, to be able to get into agriculture in a serious way, so we're able to supply the needs of Tobago. I don't know how many of you drive, how often you drive, but I don't know if it's just me, if it's my vehicle, but the amount of bad drive, as they call it, that we're getting on the roads now, it's becoming more and more. I don't know if it's getting worse. So the reality is, one of the programs that we're going to do in roll out in fiscal 2018 is a road safe project. Part of it is ensuring that we're going to roll out a pilot phase in the Mariah to Bloody Bay area, where we're going to have what our road should look like. Signage, road markings, barricades, the full works. so that this is what a safe road should look like. And once we provide a safe road, this is what safe drivers should do. And of course, you'll be partnering the licensing division to ensure that there are more, the licensing department to ensure that there are more safe drivers and driving.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending July 1st, 2017.